Jill, your voice has changed.
I think she likes the snacks.
Mark Dwelby, Park County Commissioner.
Neil Levy, Woodland Park Mayor.
I'm Gary Korn, representing Colonel Chess in 21st Space Wing, Peterson.
Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Quall, representing Colonel Deanna Burt, Schriever Air Force Base.
Morning, Brad McDonald from the Air Force Academy.
Turner Smith, trustee from Rama.
Sharon Thompson, Fountain City Council.
Bill Murray, Colorado Springs City Council.
Tyler Stevens, Green Mountain Falls.
Norm Steen, Teller County Commissioner. Let me just take a moment to introduce two other people in the room. Arnie Spartans, the chairman of the board of the Teller Senior Coalition, and Lisa Reed, the new interim executive director for Teller Senior Coalition. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Andy Pico, Colorado Springs City Council.
And I'm Mark Snyder, Mayor of Manitou Springs, for another couple of weeks anyway.
With a big smile.
All right.
With a big smile.
And I think we have some staff members that will be presenting later. Maybe we can introduce them at that time.
We will do that, and I'll take the opportunity to have the board enjoy the bag of homemade cookies, desserts from the staff. So you can enjoy your sugar high for the rest of the day. Just keep digging into the bag. That's when we run out of sugar on the back table.
Well, and these are wonderful. My daughters have been enjoying these since they were knee-high. Now they're teenagers, but and they don't have much to do with me, but they still love the cookies. So that's much appreciated. And if there's ever a reason to be nice to staff around here, it's the fact that you're going to get this bag of cookies, and you want to make sure that it's as enjoyable as possible.
Well, we're glad to have them, and please enjoy, even during the meeting.
Special Manitou cookies we hear some about.
Oh, no. Just in your bag, Bill. Just for you. I guess I'll never live that down, huh? I'm going to be painted with a big green leaf on my forehead for the rest of my life. All right.
$1,000 in taxes, though.
Yeah, we're not complaining about that part. Okay, agenda approval. We have a relatively light agenda. I won't make any predictions on timing, but does anybody have anything they wish to add or amend to today's agenda?
Move approval. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Great, it passes. Thank you.
Skip the public comments?
No, I'm right on it.
Oh.
So item 4 is public comment. This is an opportunity for someone from the public or anybody to speak to the board about an issue that's not on today's agenda. Is anybody wishing to do so today? Now is the time. Nobody? Okay. Well, then we can move on. Item 5 is the consent items. We generally take these as a whole unless somebody wishes to pull one for separate consideration. And I think we need to pull item 5C from the consent calendar. And that may circle back later today, or that item may come before the board next month
Move
in
to approve
January.
the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Thank you. Item 6 is reports, and we do like to begin with our CDOT monthly report. I see Mark Andrews making his way up. And Mark, I want to thank Karen and your staff for forwarding her letter, her emails out to the board. And I think I speak for everybody when we wish her every success in her challenges and a full recovery. So
I'll pass that on.
Convey our warm wishes, and if she can have my bag of cookies.
Okay. I'll pass that on. Thank you. Yeah, it's some good news out of that. You know, that the tumor was not cancerous. It was successful in terms of the operation. She's enduring the pain as best she can right now with the major surgery, but she's at home. We expect her back anywhere from 1 to 2 months. 6 weeks probably being likely. But it's some good news on that. So, again, Mark Andrew with CDOT, give you a quick presentation or update, on projects. As I talked about at the last board meeting, we're wrapping up some projects this season. I'll go through them just quickly. We had some good news on the Old Ranch project. We opened that to traffic, so that one's fully open in terms of both Old Ranch and Powers Boulevard. We've got some touch-up to do on that project, but that was a very good, successful project that PPRTA and the city came forward with, and we were able to advance some of those funds with a future payback. So very good project, well worth it. We're going to reduce a lot of accidents because of that, we think. Regarding Fillmore, we're slightly ahead of schedule because we were able to accelerate some of the work. Our goal is to finish that north side bridge by the holidays. It looks like we're a little bit behind that schedule, but overall I think we're going to finish the project early, potentially by the end of this spring. So some good news there. It's progressing. And then I'm going to bring up Dave Watt. He'll give you an update on Cimarron. Before I do that, there was some discussion last time about the 85 project. It looks like the 85 resurfacing job is completed, with the exception of some guardrail improvements we still need to make. We do have an ongoing pavement repair or concrete repair project that we're doing at the it's the State Highway 16 exit, so we will be closing the southbound on-ramp and northbound off-ramp. It's the loop ramp to the, not to Fort Carson, but the westbound direction. We're going to close those over the weekend because we can't do that with shoulder closures. So we've got to completely close those ramps for a short period of time to repair that. It looks like we'll start Friday night. If the weather comes in, we'll delay that another week. So we're not anticipating any backups on I-25 as a result of that or impacts to Fort Carson, but we will have to post some alternate routes for folks to take alternate routes. So that project, once done, will complete our resurfacing or slab repair project in the area. So.
When you have those kind of closures, do you reach out to Fountain and Fort Carson and others and let them know this is exactly what's coming down and the times and everything?
Yeah, we typically do, but I'll make sure that we do that. We do a media release, and that media release does go to those bodies as well. So we'll make sure that happens.
Specifically, could Councilwoman Sharon Thompson get one?
Yeah,
I saw some head shaking.
The
Karen gets
first we
one.
heard about it was when an electronic sign appeared at exit 128, headed northbound, advising us that the southbound exit of 132A would be closed from December 11th to 14th. And it was a really odd spot to put it. I don't know if you've seen it when you get on the freeway, but I just thought, well, why isn't it up where it needs to be? And then when exit 132 northbound has been narrowed down, we didn't receive any notification. that
Okay.
was gonna happen. We did
We'll-
on the 85 project with great communication.
Okay.
We knew at least a week in advance what we could tell our people, what was going to be closed and different things, try to get the word out. But this particular one, and the other morning when I happened to get off at exit 132A, traffic was backed up all the way to Mesa Ridge High School with people not being able to get into Fort Carson in a timely manner.
So that's some things that we need to work on. That project is being done out of our Pueblo office, but no excuses. We need to be able to notify the locals of what's going on to make sure that folks are informed, not just media, but
Yeah.
you guys need to get the word out too. So we recognize that. So let me get some information to you.
That'd be great, thank you.
And then we'll be done with that project. We've got one more surface treatment on South Powers that we're finishing up. It looks like that will go into next spring. We couldn't get the top mat down. We ran out of season on that one. So we'll open it to 4 lanes soon if it's not open already, and then come back in the spring and finish that. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Dave Watt. Dave's got an update on Cimarron and a couple other projects in the area that he's been working on.
If I could, before we
Yeah,
lose Mark.
Mark, if you will, I think Turner and Dennis and then Turner, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. We're good. Thank you. Mark, on 85, since that's kind of your bailiwick, or that's what you've been reporting on, great job. Thank you very much. Want to extend my thanks to you and your staff when they got to the B Street portion. I sent an email, how much of the ramps are you planning on resurfacing? They said, well, typically that's 50 feet. Well, about 450 feet of it is yours before it becomes county, and I said, I've been getting a lot of complaints from the neighborhood about the potholes on those ramps. They're bad. And immediately you guys came back and said, we'll take it all the way to the county responsibility. And so thank you for being so responsive there.
Sure. No. Any other questions?
Turner,
Oh, sir.
trustee, I believe you have
The only reason I'm throwing this question at you, and not because I want to turn it into a 4-hour meeting, but can you give us any idea what we're going to hear about FAST and when as far as for Colorado and what it means for us?
Yeah, I'm not up to speed on that. You want to do that, Aaron?
Federal legislation, the new highway bill.
Thank you.
Hi, Aaron Greco, CDOT Policy Office. I don't know who asked the question. I heard it. Sorry. So yeah, we have been doing at CDOT a kind of a deep dive of the bill. We've got a working group that we're trying to kind of sort out what the exact implications are going to be. Overall, we're going to see about $3.5 billion over the next 5 years. There will be an increase, not a huge increase in the amount of money that comes to the state. Some of the programs like STP is now a broader program. They are rolling in smaller programs into that, and apparently the process by which you apply for funds is going to be streamlined. Freight was the big winner. I think it was, $85 million over the life of the bill that'll come to Colorado for our freight corridors, which is great news. We're still looking into how exactly, each region is going to be, the potential for each region to be impacted. But as we kind of come up with a lot of policy analysis, we'll make sure to share it with everybody equally. So, yeah.
I read a little blurb from NACO on that, and read some other articles on it. Based on the total amount of the bill, the federal bill, and based on a report I saw in the Denver Post that we would get, was it $386 million?
Yeah, that's new dollars, 386 million new dollars.
Oh, okay.
And there's some debate on what that number actually means or whether or not that's correct, but that's probably a good estimate, which isn't a lot, but, it's something. So I think overall we're just pleased that, we're not going to have short-term authorization circuses every year, at least until 2020, which we're happy about. That always affects things here on the ground. This helps with long-term planning. It should help with you all. And as as our planning department and commissioners kind of figure out how this affects the planning process, obviously you guys will be the first people to know about it. So, but we're kind of doing our initial deep dive right now. Any other questions?
We'll look for more later.
Yeah. No, we'll get it to you. But I think the overall, we are pleasantly surprised that Congress passed an authorization bill that was this long, funded, which we didn't think was necessarily going to happen. And so now the real work begins to try and figure out how we make it best for our state. So,
Thank you.
yep.
Thank you. Great report. Good question. Thank you. Mr. Watt, things are looking quite different at the Cimarron interchange these days.
They're going to keep looking different as we keep on moving forward. I'm going to hand out an old-style document paperwork. A number of you, Dave Watt with CDOT Region 2. I'm one of Mark's resident engineers, and I'd like to talk about a couple things on I-25. The I-25 Cimarron project is progressing well. I think you can see that there's some changes coming out in the area. The rather large crane that's holding up the vertical trestle is a pile driver, and we're driving piles for the what will become the southbound overpass of I-25. When you see the embankment material, when we talk about the work that we're doing that we're paying a lot of money for, we refer to that as embankment materials and soil work. But the dirt you see coming up over the existing ground is going to be the southbound direction, and you're seeing the southbound exit ramp come to be as the temporary bridge over Fountain Creek that's been constructed to date that is being used to haul material in and out of the site will become the southbound exit ramp here later this next spring. A lot of we're about nearly out of the ground on the west side of the highway. A lot of drainage work has been completed, underground utility work. There's still a couple of sanitary sewer lines to complete the work on. We had to treat some contaminated groundwater that we knew going in we were going to have to deal with. So a few months ago, you would have seen some rather large blue tanks in the northwest corner of the site. It's good news that the large blue tanks are gone. There's not a lot of productivity, but we're certainly required to treat that contaminated water before it goes back down to Fountain Creek and other systems. But that's a nice change in the area. The project team is glad to see those tanks go out of the way. You're also starting to see some work along Fountain Creek progress. You'll start seeing that look a lot more inviting as we bring this more back to recall. We're going to have to treat this more as an amenity than we have in years past. And while the vegetation is gone, there's more to come as we keep on progressing through the schedule. We are on track for a spring 2016 traffic switch where you will see the new embankment work become the southbound direction. There still will be 3 lanes like we've been talking about all along, but we're give you the next couple months a more precise date than that, but we're still tracking well for spring 2000 date on that. Couple things along the way that if you were up late on a Saturday night a couple weeks ago, you would have noted we had a closure on I-25 to pull the overhead electric lines across. That went very well. A lot of coordination that the project team did between Colorado Springs Utilities, Colorado Springs Police Department, Colorado State Patrol, both the Kramer team as well as Colorado Springs Utilities team, and a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. And there was people out there throughout the evening to make sure that the work was able to be performed safely and that the motors going through were not remarkably delayed. We didn't hear any complaints about that one. We did have some problems last Friday night. We had a pothole or 2, or 3 or 4 that developed in the 2 southbound lanes that are the inside lanes. Those were repaired began about 11 o'clock at night, and that went into about 3 o'clock Saturday morning. But we were able to do that off-peak hours and after the lag of the Colorado Springs police officers' procession that proceeded on Friday evening as well. But things are going well. The team is very busy. I think you're going to continue to see a lot of work for those of you who have insomnia. If you're out, you'll see a lot of activity in the evening, and as you come to work during the day, you will be able to hopefully see some continued changes moving forward. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions.
Is everybody getting the email updates? I get them, and I find them very helpful. I'm able to send those out to people that have questions in my community.
What Mayor Snyder is referring to is there's a weekly e-alert, and this is a monthly newsletter that if you're on the distribution list, this will be a second time for you to see that material.
Any questions for Mr. Watt?
I'll give a quick update. Mark asked me to mention I-25 at Nevada Rock Rimmon. That's been an area that we've been paying attention to. We've got some settlement issues there where the investigation work is underway to find out if we've got an embankment problem there or if we've got a deeper below the existing, what used to be the existing ground foundational problem. It's been a challenge to work in that area as the interstate, much different than I-25 Cimarron, the alignment for I-25 stayed the same. And the construction happened there. It's difficult to erect 45 feet of fill and structures on rather large skews. That's what this angle here is between the structure and the underpassing features underneath. We're looking at that settlement and have a project that we're in the development stages of that we hope to advertise about a year from now to address some of those settlement and ride quality issues. That's not the type of ride we want to see on I-25 there. Commissioner Schreiner is very much aware of those issues and is prompting and wants to keep up to speed on that, and that project is going to go forward. So we'll provide an update in the next few months about what the progress looks like on that particular project. But that is something that we're paying attention to, and we are looking at preparing a remedy, again, to go out to first construction later this 2016. And one little note, Mayor, we are slipping a week on our advertisement for the Rainbow Falls Bridge Rehabilitation Project. We had some last-minute questions that came in. We want to make sure we get some good clarity to the proposing team so that we can get the best price possible for the work coming ahead.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Watt before he steps away? Thank you.
I had one more update. There was some interest last time about the I-25 planning study that's ongoing. When I say ongoing, it's we're going out with the request for proposals through our Region 1 office. I believe they've got about $3 million to look at a planning study to go from Monument up to 470. They're looking at managed lanes as an option, but their goal is to try to get that planning level study done in the next 2 years to be able to offer some solutions for a future project. So some good news there. We're working with the Region 1 office to try to get that moving along. So
Managed lanes meaning pay lanes.
yes,
Okay.
that's an option.
I've come full circle. I was
that's
really
code.
offended by those. Now I'm
I
kind
know.
of looking forward to the opportunity to pay more to get up there. So,
Looking forward to it.
As long as you know what it costs at the beginning.
right.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Any final questions for CDOT? Thank you for coming in. We appreciate it.
And the 2-year study is good news.
All right, so we can move on to item 6B. We very much value our military installations here in El Paso County, and so we have a standing item for military installation reports. What's going on, gentlemen?
I'll go ahead and just kick it off.
Sure.
First of all, as we talked about last month, we're all greatly appreciative of that partnership. And so last month there was a Veterans Day parade, and we were privileged that Mr. Paul Siciliani and his family were the honorary grand marshals. And so that was a fantastic event, and thank you. And then earlier this week I had an opportunity to be in the same room with some of the folks in this room where there was a Pearl Harbor remembrance. And so just the continual respect and relational activities that happen in this community are noteworthy, and so we're just appreciative to be a part of that. And on the flip side, I know there's going to be a joint land use study presentation a little bit later this morning. We look forward to continuing being good partners on that effort so that we can make sure that the community and the missions are sustained over the long haul. So that's it for this morning. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Colonel?
Sir, Colonel Burt wanted to relay that some thank yous for all the support we have been given from the community around here. Especially in November, we had a exercise where the county supported us, all the emergency responders supported us. We had hostage negotiators. We had the command post out there, K-9 units, all that kind of thing, working with us to get through how we would handle an unfortunate event. And we also are looking at possibly trying to partner with some of the other installations around here for the next exercise we do. So we'll see how that goes. Try to integrate a little bit better amongst the community. Also, she's going to have her state of the base address. Some invitations will be going out for that. It'll be in early March, possibly right around the 2nd of March. So
Great,
thank you again.
And so the exercise went well, you say?
Oh, yes,
that
sir.
involved some civilian agencies and a lot of coordination.
It was very successful, and I think we were happy with how it turned out in terms of our preparedness so far. So, yeah, we'll look forward. We'll be doing more of them. So.
Yeah, and it's necessary in this day and age, isn't it?
Okay, so for us, again, likewise, thanks for the great partnerships. We see it every day. And also just want to mention, we are, from Peterson Air Force Base perspective, that widening of powers is going to be a good thing, and so we're looking forward to that being open if it's not already open. So good stuff. So.
Great. Anybody have any questions for our military installation representatives? Doesn't appear so. Thank you. So item 6C is the executive director's report. You have a short report for us?
Short report, 3 items. I can see the clock over there. Yeah, a couple things. We just finished our open enrollment for Medicare Part D. Our folks down in our area agency on aging did a great job this year. With the reconfiguration of staff, we got actually more people in less time. So in January, we'll have a report for the numbers. I'm sure they're still tallying and getting the information together. But we'll have that report for you all in January. Under our environmental program, transition planning. Obviously, Rich Muzzy has departed for the West Coast. Still there, happy as far as I know. And we're looking to, we just advertised for his position. And so it's on our website, which you'll see probably later, a glimpse of our website. Right, Rachel? And so it's on there being advertised, and we've got some good interest already to fill that position. In the interim, Ken Prather is acting for us in that capacity. He may report on an item. He's back on the manager's row as an acting manager, but if there are questions on the water quality report, he'll have the answers. So glad he stepped up to that role. And finally, some of you heard earlier that our transportation and policy folks and communications are working with the town of Alma, doing their comp plan. And we're actually having a good time with that, letting our planners cut their teeth in a comp plan. We don't do those very much. Seems like every 15 years. Good to get out there and meet with the folks and really, see what we can come up with. And
Much appreciated.
So far, so good. So we'll continue that endeavor in the next couple of months. That's my report.
Jill, please.
Just one question. One of the bullets mentions that the mobility manager position and the administrator for the Joint Call Center are posted, but they're not on the website yet.
The new website?
I looked this morning, and I just think those are really important roles, so I hope that they will be posted soon.
Very soon. Yeah, they've been posted probably for a month or two.
Not on there right now.
Right, yeah. We transitioned to a new website. Rachel will talk about that during her report. So, yeah, if it's not there, it will be.
Okay. And the senior transportation positions on there.
The transportation planner,
Yeah.
3, yes.
So that's been there a long time. Is there any movement on that, or
Sure.
can I just get a status on? Because that's another key role that it's just sitting open.
Yeah, we advertised nationally. We had 2 weeks ago 2 offers for 2 folks. We lost out to Federal Highways and I think somewhere in Georgia, 2 folks that agreed verbally, but then when we sent them written confirmation, they met with their family and decided to go a different place. So we'll continue to advertise. I think we've probably got, Barb's not here, but I think we've probably got 15 or 16 submittals for applicants for that gets vetted by our Human Resource Department, which is Barb and me, and then we do the interviews with a team. So we've been through that a couple of times. And so we'll
Thanks for that.
continue to get folks, and I think we're getting applications almost weekly.
Meanwhile, we're having vacancy savings.
We are saving, but luckily the long-range plan is done.
Okay. Any other questions for Rob? Thank you, Rob. So that brings us to item 6D, the CAC, Community Advisory Committee. Hello, Mr. Moore.
Jim Moore, Community Advisory Committee. Our meeting was fairly straightforward. We did have a long conversation about the wastewater lift site application, mainly around making sure we understood that sewage does flow downhill, which some of us were aware of that from bureaucratic experiences. We did not, we tabled it because, as noted in minutes, the Water Quality Management Committee had not had a chance to actually vote. They were absent a quorum when they had their discussion. So we tabled that, but I would anticipate that when we have the water quality recommendation that there will be an appropriate vote by the committee at the end of this month. Other than that, it was informational items, and we did adjourn about 5 minutes later than we were supposed to.
Oh.
Any questions?
No pressure.
Thank
Are you really going to meet on December 30th?
Jacqueline? Yes, we are.
Probably
That's what
depends
I'm
on the
told.
lift station.
We actually still have to elect some officers for 2016, and Bob Baker is here to make sure that we do follow through on that. So.
Okay. Well, thank you for giving up part of your holiday season for this effort. Any- Yeah, there you go.
Can we get some of those green cookies?
I'm sorry. We can't accommodate.
You got to get them yourself.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Moore, anybody? No? So then we can move on to the aforementioned Water Quality Management Committee, 6E.
If you have any questions, they had the lift station. But
Right. And they just met, okay. Anybody have any questions or comments concerning this report? Nope. And we can move on to our sole action item for the day, 7A, Joint Land Use Study Project and Proposed Policy Committee.
Sure. First introduction of the team doing the joint land use study. You've heard me talk about it since we went through the application process, got it funded. It's looking like it's ready to really take some good steps forward. The team in the room, and Angela Essing will be presenting in a few minutes. She's going to lead the effort as our project manager. Brian Potts, who's not behind the pole but standing up, thank you, because I can't see through that pole still. He's going to be one of our project planner for it. Our GIS analyst and planner, Tom Miller, who was working transportation, and used to work in military planning. He's decided to go back to military planning, so he's going to be the GIS analyst. He is not here today. The other parts of staff that are going to be working on, certainly for myself, but policy communication. Rachel and Erica, who's in the audience too, doing the website, the press releases, the information that's going out. So really parts of the rest of the team are really going to work toward this, and we're really anxious to have you talk about this action today, and Angela will take you through it. And she has a little bit of a slideshow, but this is her first meeting, so we look forward to seeing her more often here.
Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I want to start by saying that Brian, Tom, myself, and all of PPACG is very excited to work on this project because of the benefits that it can bring to the region. And so we're excited to get this started. Today I'm going to tell you about, give you some information informing of the policy committee, and then I'll give you some updates of what staff has been doing thus far. And then I'll walk you through some of the next steps before requesting a recommendation. So staff started here in October on the JLUS study, and in early November, Serena Eitler with the Office of Economic Adjustment came and met with us, and her mission in meeting with us was to start to establish the policy committee. And you can see it on the slide. You also have it in your packets. And the Office of Economic Adjustment has worked on 120 joint land use studies throughout the country, and they have applied a lot of best practices learned through the studies that they've done, and thus they have worked closely with us on putting together the recommendations for the policy committee. Now, the policy committee will be responsible for leading the JLUS and monitoring the implementation and adoption of the policies and the strategies. So the OEA has made it very clear that they want us to include leaders in the community and installations who are influential in their organizations. In doing so, OEA also met with us to discuss the initial issue identification. And so if we can flip to the next attachment, which is also in your packets, you're going to have some compatibility issues that are identified. And these are, of course, preliminary. We're at the very, very beginning of this. And so when the Office of Economic Adjustment was here, they also took the time to meet with each of the installations, and then obviously the installations meeting with the PPACG also. And we formulated this as basically a summary of that meeting. And it should be noted that Triever is listed on the compatibility issue chart, and they have requested to join the study. So they have made formal request, and I checked with the OEA yesterday. That request is currently at the Pentagon and is making its way to the OEA for final approval. And we should hear sometime shortly for the confirmation that you would be officially added.
Great, thank you.
So staff has been reviewing joint land use studies that have been completed throughout the country as a good background for us to understand what the study should cover and how this study should be compiled. And at the same time, we have been meeting with many local and military plans that are available to us today. At the same time, we've been meeting with federal legislative aides and community leaders. And because we know there have been a lot of meetings that have taken place to date, there have been a lot of issues identified throughout the community, felt it's very important to get information of what has been done. One of our goals in completing this study is not to duplicate any of the work that has been done, but simply to build upon and to enhance or continue work that is currently in place. So what are the next steps? Each seat of the policy committee needs to return a letter to the PPACG. So today we will be making a recommendation to make a motion to adopt the policy committee. And then, Jacqueline, if you could go back, can I even do that? Can I go back up? And so what we need at this point is obviously a recommendation today to recommend that this policy committee be adopted. Then we need everyone to go back to their organizations and address a letter to PPACG requesting that that a particular person sits on the policy committee. Now, the City of Colorado Springs and El Paso County will need to appoint someone to this committee. Obviously, you have multiple members sitting on PPACG, and so that appointment will be up to both the council members and the commissioners. We have asked for the letters to be returned to us by December 28th. We realize this is an incredibly short turnaround time, and the city and the county may have some trouble doing that, just based on the meetings that you do or don't have during the holidays. So if that is not possible, we can look at doing it at your first meetings in January, and then we would look at making a final adoption of this committee at the PPACG meeting in February. So we may just have to push it just with the way the meetings fall. Yes.
When did you say you need a letter?
December 28th, if that's possible.
We don't have a meeting.
Sounds like January.
Okay, so it sounds like we would need it. Okay. So if I could get, I think what we could aim for then too is if the majority of the organizations could get us the letters by early January, and then we would have Colorado Springs send us the letter as soon as you have your meeting, then we can put this on the February agenda for PPACG.
Angela, are you looking for alternates as well as primaries? Would that be an option?
What do you think? Yeah, I
think today's action is, form the committee, and then second action in January, February now will be to populate with primary and secondary. And I think Angela said that, part of OEA's experience across the country of doing 120 of these, they want the buy-in, kind of like this board approves your subcommittees, the RAC, the CAC, and TAC. They want the checkoff by this group as the fiscal agent, as the regional body to say, you're official members of this, you have standing. So when you make recommendations at the policy group level, that they tend to stick, versus having people come and go and say, well, I missed 3 meetings, but bring me up to speed on this land use issue. And so that's their recommendation. We are recommending that as well. And so that's why you have set the policy group and then set the members of the policy group.
Right.
And to note, too, the,
Before you go too far, I see you're looking for commissioners and council members and kind of germane to the discussion that's going on. Are you looking for somebody who's going to be there every time? Because if so, I don't know that you want a commissioner. We probably have staff much better informed that we can direct to be there every time. Kind of my question, too.
and that's a good question. Let me explain a little bit more, and then maybe that will make sense. So the policy committee, the obligation is typically 4 meetings a year. And this is a 2-year project, so we're maybe 8 meetings. We've said, there could be potential for 6 meetings, but typically, most of the studies have done about 4 meetings a year with the policy committee. And then one of the first lines of items that the policy committee will do when we meet in February then, we will review the schedule, and then we will also set up a technical committee. Now, the technical committee will sit under the policy committee, and that is made up of the planning directors of the various municipalities and so the worker bees, in some sense, of those organizations, and people that can do those, and they will meet more frequently. They will meet more like 6 to 8 times a year and do a lot of the work behind the scenes. And then they also will have working groups underneath them that will look at very specific issues. Maybe an easy one is similar to the Air Force Academy has done some noise meetings and things. And so people who have come together for those meetings, for those noise meetings, then will be formed into a working group to work on that specific compatibility issue. They will report to the technical committee, who will look at how we can make progress going forward with those compatibility issues, thus making recommendations then to the policy committee in the end. And so we're looking for that policy committee to be those high-level leaders so that they can make a final adoption of the plan.
Clarification, I think it would be prudent to make a policy that the people selected have 2 years of longevity, because we are entering.
There's no guarantees in this world, Bill. No, I'm just saying.
Oh, okay.
On a more, ephemeral level.
I see it's a 2-year cycle, and because we have a political environment coming up, I think it might be prudent to have people who can do for all 2 years.
Weird.
Are you volunteering?
Yeah. Does that help? I volunteer as well.
I just.
No, point well noted.
Trustee Smith, you had a question, please.
More of a comment. When I look through there are very few, if any, small cities or towns represented. My background, I've been on all 5 of these military bases countless times. I was at the U.S. Air Force Academy when JFK gave the commencement address. I was at the first football game ever played there. When I first started going out to Falcon Air Force Station, there were no buildings, no fences. So I've been around. My dad was discharged from Camp Carson. So I've been around these installations for a long time. I have a very crude understanding of a very small part of their mission. But I do support our military, and I would like you to consider, or for the OEA to consider, making the town of Rama one of your members for the policy committee.
See, Mark, did you have your hand up too?
No. You
How
saw
come
me
Park
think
County's
of
not on
things,
here?
though.
And-
Park County's not involved in this, and
I know.
as far as I'm concerned, there's been a lot of military craft hovering and landing and doing things in Park County, and I wonder if maybe you could just move to these other counties where the people are going to be involved in this and come and like do your missions over Teller County, maybe?
Great. Jill?
Well, and it seems like just from the list that it's only the large cities that touch the military installations and the smaller cities, because there are a lot of smaller cities are represented by their counties. So if we're going to start picking and choosing towns, then I think we may get into trouble.
It's fairly common when boards like this are set up, committees, that they have one representative for all the small towns. But in this case, as I went through I didn't really think about out east, but I thought about Monument. I don't think Manitou really needs a seat on this board, but Monument being so close to the academy, something along those lines. So I think it would, and I think that's what we need to do at this stage is to approve this roster of potential policy committee members and add to it or amend it if we think we need to. So, yes.
We do have people in Rama that work at these various installations, and so we do have some touchstones there. But I also have, I had the opportunity to be in touch with several of the defense contractors that serve this area. So, and you guys know that this is all related to what you do here. So,
Bob, did you?
Yep. I think in talking with OEA, and again, their experience with 120 of these nationally, part of the briefings this board will get, they seem to think that the smaller local governments you'll get briefings every couple of months here, but you can also appoint someone here from a small local government. It doesn't necessarily have to be the chair. So that was their thinking, and once the committee is formed, the policy committee can decide on its members to add, remove, or whatever. Because we're going to face the same thing in the other counties. Pueblo may want more folks. Fremont County may want more folks. But again, we're trying to establish the committee, not etched in stone the membership today, because we know as we get into a 2-year study, depending on the issue, if they fly to Park County, we may want to be like Schriever, get added to the study. Because even Teller County was out of the study at one point. But after our conversations and discussions with OEA, we said there are missions that go over and impact Teller County. So again, suggestion not to get caught up with the specific membership roster, but again, form the committee as it now exists in draft, and then let the committee meet and start working on some of those, including membership, as far as the who exactly.
And I think you said it very well too, Rob, by saying that we did have this discussion with the OEA and setting up the kind of the seats that were listed on the sheet. However, we did say that the representation would come through Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments, and yeah, maybe it was bad to make an assumption that it would be the chairman, but and so PPACG can discuss that too as to maybe who you would want as a representative.
Does that work for you, Trustee? I think.
I think attendance is important,
Yes.
as you brought out.
Well, and it can be the committee can be added to by the committee itself once they're formed, and certainly opportunity for representation from PPACG. We have some folks wearing several hats here. They could find their way under that committee several different avenues. So, okay. Please.
It's usually public meetings, so anybody would be invited to attend. But still ought to be voting members. Accurate?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, that is correct. Yep.
Anything further?
So just lastly, I would like to recommend that the board makes a motion to move forward with the formation of the JLUS Policy Committee as outlined in your packet.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Thank you. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay. That was our sole action item for the day. Now we get to the fun stuff here, because we get to welcome back a familiar face around here who was instrumental in setting up the Peak Military Care Network and so many other things. Welcome back, Kate Hatton.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you back in our halls again. It's been too long.
I apologize for that. I probably should have been back sooner, particularly after the end of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation grant, but better late than never, right?
Absolutely.
And I only have about 50 or 60 slides since it's a late. Just kidding. Just kidding. You know me, I talk fast. Just a few slides to kind of go through where we are. So Kate Hatton is with the Peak Military Care Network, which did come out of this auspicious organization. Just wanted to go back in time a little bit, is that when we started doing this in 2007, that we had the Fort Carson Regional Growth Plan. There were several other efforts. There was a lot of stuff going on at Fort Carson in terms of doubling its size, and a lot of the challenges that came along with that, from deployments and the issues that families were going through. The good news is this community has a lot of military and veteran support organization. The challenge is that this community has a lot of military and veteran support organizations, and trying to make sure everybody's working together and knowing what everybody else was doing. So the situation was very different 8-9 years ago in terms of who was involved, what they knew about the military installations, and how we could work together. So that's what kind of came out of the process. The Fort Carson Regional Growth Plan really looked at a very broad-based. Again, Fort Carson, apologize for the Air Force installations that were here today. It was focused originally on Fort Carson, but broadened very quickly to include all of the military installations and the challenges that were there. So the work that came out of that and the collaborations that were built through that started it. There were also a couple of other efforts around kind of specific topics around collaboration, behavioral health, and some other areas that weren't really sustainable for a variety of reasons. But this board and other folks recognize the need to really do a strategic planning process around what are we doing, how do we identify what our strengths and weaknesses are, and how can we do a better job of kind of coordinating those efforts. So thanks to the Office of Economic Adjustment, the Fort Carson Regional Growth Plan, PPACG, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and others, we were really able to do some, Robert Wood Johnson Foundation came later, some analysis around what we were doing. One of the first recommendations that we implemented was from the growth plan, which was the Network of Care website, a web-based resource that had a service directory and a lot of other features that I won't go into, but really a place where there could be a lot of information, very comprehensive information in one place that could be updated very quickly. Strategies to develop more collaboration. How do we really involve not just the military installations, but the Guard and Reserve and the veteran community? Again, a lot of that funding did come through DOD's Office of Economic Adjustment and all the work that was done here. A lot of community support, too, from El Pomar, the Anschutz Foundation, and others as well. So what we ended up doing is really then with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation really implementing. What did we want to do? How did we, after doing focus groups and getting folks together in surveys, what are we doing well, how can we organize better, meeting with elected officials, military installations, veterans, those needing services, what can we do better? And so we had a pilot where we really brought together and focused on service providers, really trying to make sure what were they doing in the community, could they speak the language, did they understand what was going on with military and veteran families, did they have good reach back to the military installations, if they were working with active duty folks, did they understand the chain of command in those processes, and really develop formal collaboration so we could get those folks working together. And they signed an MOU to say, yes, we want to collaborate, we want to work together, we want to understand. So, and the ultimate goal was that if they somebody walked in one door looking for services for their child or for themselves, and they had another need, that organization that they started with didn't say, we don't do that, good luck. We could say, we don't do that, but we know who does. Let me hand you off to the right person. And so have that warm handoff. And then really developed kind of what the processes would look like over time. And what's happened over time, and what I really wanted to point out here, is that how PMCN has morphed from a program under the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments to a program under the nonprofit, the National Homeland Defense Foundation. Over the past year or so, the National Homeland Defense Foundation saw that its mission really focused on the Peak Military Care Network. So as of June, NHDF became the Peak Military Care Network. We changed our name. So we have full focus strictly on what the Peak Military Care Network is doing. So we have a board, an advisory board, and partner agency network, and then some of the services that we provide. So that's the governance change that's happened in the past year. So there's been a lot of change. We've been through a lot. It's a roller coaster ride, but really the whole goal is really connecting service members, veterans, and families to critical resources. And it's about the health and well-being, not just of service members, veterans, and families, but of all of your communities as well, too. Hopefully, if you have happy, healthy, productive members of your society, whether they're active duty folks, Guard and Reserve folks, or veterans, that it's all good for the communities as well. PMCN's goals, and we have a strategic plan that really kind of boils down into providing centralized information and assistance, making sure that people are aware of and have access to resources. We found at least half the battle is that folks don't know what's available. Part of that because there's so many resources available, and it's kind of overwhelming at times. And streamlining connections to those resources, building that collaborative network of partner agencies, making sure that community-based organizations really understand military and veteran culture so they can better serve service members, veterans, and families. And broad-based leadership that is provided through the board, the advisory board, and the leaders of those partner agencies, and really ultimately to make sure that service members, veterans, and families have what they need to be, again, healthy in this community. Centralized information we do through two purposes. I mentioned the Network of Care website. We've also partnered with Pikes Peak United Way through 211 for call-in assistance so that we can get to more information about what the service members' and needs are and family members, and then so that we have web-based and call-in assistance. And it's hard to read. We'll make sure you get copies of this, but trying to do some metrics. We look at some preliminary data from 2014 and the first half of this year in terms of the website, doubling the number of visits to the website, who calls are coming. We started the call center in mid-2014. And so as we've learned what we're finding out, the majority of those folks who call the call center are veterans. Small percentages are active duty. Most of them are younger, E5 and below probably. Half of them are post 9/11 veterans. And the majority of them that call in are already in crisis. They're having trouble with financial issues, having trouble paying rent, having trouble putting food on the table, or having some other kind of financial issues. So ultimately, what we want to be able to do is get to them before they're in crisis, and going back and doing more outreach, getting to folks before they transition out, before as they come to this community as new members, as they PCS in, acronyms all over the place, as they move from another duty station here. Making sure they know there are community supports available, that they're not isolated, that there's a strong community support system here too. So that's what we're looking to do as we move forward. Again, the collaborative network, there's another slide that breaks down these agencies in a little higher font so you can actually read it. But the key on this slide is really, again, a very integrated network, cross-sector, looking at financial assistance, family supports, workforce, social services, child care, substance abuse, mental health, behavioral health, health care in general, and pretty much anything in between. Anything a member of your family or my family or anything might need, you can find through this network, and many provide multiple services. But again, trying to make sure they're interconnected and working together. We train. We work on, we have a monthly meeting where it's really problem solving and training around key issues, just understanding what a deployment means to a military family and what that looks like as individuals transition out. What are the military installations seeing, and how can the community partner up with what they can and can't provide? What does the VA do? What does the VA not do? And how do we make sure that the VA folks know what resources are available in the community when someone isn't eligible for VA services? So this chart just kind of shows, again, and we'll have another stab at this. Our program evaluator is looking at our data right now. But not only do the partner agencies benefit, but those who come in and think they understand military and veteran culture, including those who work in Airmen and Family Readiness or Army Community Service or other programs, actually learn something themselves, too, when they come to these meetings. So it's very good. Again, the broad-based leadership of the Board of Directors that is now focused on the Peak Military Care Network solely, the advisory board that includes all of our military installations, the community providers, I'll go into that in a little more detail, and our partner agencies. They're really, really working together. Again, just wanted to give you a quick sense of who the PMC and Board of Directors is right now. Retired military, business and community leaders. Really trying to make sure that we have some broad-based engagement. There is some continuity from the NHDF board to the PMCN board, which is good because they've been involved for a long time. I expect that the board will probably expand in future years. Again, this is the first 6 months under our new governance structure. The advisory board, again, community and business folks, a lot of our partner agencies who are really involved in the work that we're doing. Military and family representatives, we want to make sure that those who need services or know about those who need services are actively engaged in what we're doing. The military installations, state, local governments from school districts K through 12 to police and fire, as well as county services, and PPACG as well, too. Partner agencies, again, trying to cover a very broad range of resources, those who serve. And one of the things when we started along, a lot of those folks thought they might be serving military and veterans but didn't really know. But when we started asking them who are you serving, they started looking at that a little bit more closely. And Set Family Clinics, for example, saw that somewhere between 15 and 20% of their visits were from veterans. So things that they learned that is helpful to them to help them, again, better serve. So everything from transportation to, again, family programs, CASA, TESA, to those who provide provide services for those with developmental disabilities, to our higher education institutions, UCCS, Pikes Peak Community College, the Workforce Center, and again, health and behavioral health providers as well, too. Very broad-based. Improving outcomes, again, this is a snapshot in time of the early year in terms of the number of calls in the call center. As I mentioned, that a lot of them are seeking financial assistance, housing assistance. We're working more on what we call navigation, which is really, and that's been hard to resource. Someone, instead of just getting a call and saying, here's the service that you asked for, good luck, or, and then we do follow up and check with them, did you get that, did it help? If not, how can we help you? Those really need more assistance and really some kind of more hand-holding, if you will, or have multiple needs and really are overwhelmed or can't self-advocate because of their own overwhelming situation. We want to be able to make sure that we can work more closely with them and make sure they get the crisis issues dealt with, and then kind of the long-term sustainability, self-sufficiency addressed as well. We're continuing to track that again so that we can see what we're doing, where do we need to improve, looking at overall kind of public health issues from employment and homelessness to, again, the individuals and what meets their needs. PMCN really provides leadership, collaboration, and a holistic approach. It is unique in this community. It's unique in many communities. And as of last week was recognized by the VA in the work that we're doing, along with the work that we've created another committee to support VA services, that this is really a kind of a model, this collaboration that other DOD and VA wants to see. What do we do? Again, health and well-being. It helps economic benefits by keeping people employed, which also saves on the unemployment side for the DOD and other folks who have to pay those unemployment benefits, making sure people get services. It's more along cost avoidance as much as it is, in prevention as opposed to the other side of the coin. And then it also helps service members remain focused on their mission. They know their families are taken care of while they're here. And really, it's about collective impact. Everybody here is working together, and it's not just one organization, but really how does the whole network, how do we broadly make sure that we're meeting needs and looking holistically at what the health and well-being of the community. And I'd say that really PMCN over the years, and a lot of people, the organizations and the partner agencies had to commit to collaborate, but it's changing the way they're doing business. And one example I've probably even used before is that CPCD, our local Head Start provider, they were tracking military folks, active duty folks they were serving. They weren't tracking veterans. They're now tracking veterans. They're also asking their active duty clients, the families there, are you getting out soon? Do you really have a transition plan? Do you know what you're going to do? So that they're hearing it more. It's not just a last minute helping to help them plan. So again, trying to take that community approach to making sure that we take care of our military and veteran community. And trying to adapt to community needs as we learn what changes are. 2007, the issues were really around wounded, ill, and injured service members. Not that that's changed, although those numbers are down somewhat. Now the shiny new object, if you will, is around transitioning service members. And the challenge is that there are a lot of organizations that want to help and making sure that they are working together and don't overwhelm the military installations or whelm the veterans themselves or the transitioning service members with all of the resources that are available so that the things can be customized and streamlined. And again, that collective impact approach that is really starting to get some national attention. And Syracuse University and their work around collective impact, they're coming here next month to talk to us and this whole community about some of the resources available. I realize that was long and you all want to go to lunch, so I will stop there, but I'm happy to answer questions. I just wanted to make sure you had an update. The Robert Wood Johnson Foundation grant that came through PPACG really, I think, set us up and ready to move forward and do a lot more. And next year we'll be able to hopefully staff up and do some more work and keep working together. So
I'm out of breath just listening to you. I don't know how you do it, but you covered a lot of material. And having been around from the inception of this program, our region, we sometimes get cast in a negative light for various reasons, but this is really, I think, maybe the most important thing we've done over the last several years. And it really is a model for other communities around the nation, and a lot of that is due to all the hard work you did.
Well, there were a lot of people involved.
There were a lot of people involved, but you were as we've seen, you were the dynamo that kept it going and really one of the principal driving forces. So thank you.
Well, thanks.
Commissioner, and then Councilwoman.
Okay. In the last month or so, we've had some pretty catastrophic events from veterans in Park County. We had Sam Adams shot his neighbor and killed him near Alma. We had the guy that came down here and shot up your Pikes Peak Planned Parenthood area. And what's being done, we've got this homeless issue that's happening in the Hartselle area. Our county manager went out the other day and counted 300 homeless camps in the Park County, just in the area around Hartselle. Tents, campers. A lot of these are veterans. We're at our wits' end trying to figure out, we're posting a armed policeman in our meetings now. We need some help from the military on this issue that's become at the top of the list right now. And it's normally I'm a pretty laid-back guy and feel like things will work themselves out pretty well, but this is an issue that's not going to just work itself out. It's getting worse, and we're not sure if the military is going to have, a presence there to try to help these people. What can you do to help us? Or is Park County even a part of this program?
We can certainly look into that, and I'll take this back to our homeless providers and see what they are and what their awareness is. I know that in El Paso County, the stand down had higher numbers of homeless veterans than they were anticipating. There is a group working to end veteran homelessness, at least in the Colorado Springs, El Paso County area. And I apologize, I don't know what the situation is, but we will put somebody on it and talk to the VA as well.
About it, they're going to start. More of them are going to come down and kill people down here, and more of them are going to kill people in our area, and it's a real problem.
Well, we'll do our best to help prevent that, but I will take this back to the VA. I've got a meeting with them in a couple of weeks and our homeless providers and see what we can get, what resources we can have, and we can send your way. Sure.
Sharon, I'm sorry, please.
I noticed the resource exchange is one of the
Yes.
providers. Do they have someone that works with the military? Because as someone who has a family member within that system, and is very timely and cumbersome to get going. And I would imagine it would be very frustrating if you're only here for a limited amount of time, 2 to 3 years, and it takes you a year to get the services set up for the person that needs them now. So that is something that would be, I would hope they'd have somebody that kind of is helping the military work through that so they can get things established and keep the whole front moving a little bit smoother when they do have a person in their home that needs those services. Because we were on the wait list, I know it's a bad word to say, but for almost 5 years.
For the resource exchange?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, that's kind of useless to them as a service if they're going to have to be on a wait list for that long.
And I don't know what their wait list. I know that they work with the exceptional family member programs at the installations, and so I don't know how if they know how soon they're going to move into this community with the resource. I can follow up with you. I know they work directly with the military installations.
Because those services need to continue. And I know it is, I've seen it on a lot of boards, the parent-to-parent boards and some other boards, people that are considering, moving to this area, and they're asking before they even get here, what are the services like? Should we try to come here? We need to have things set up and ready to go. So.
And there's certainly a strong communication network of folks here. This is one of, I think, just a handful of installations nationwide where people come because there are more resources. I think JBL, Joint Base, maybe, and so I think that the services are overwhelmed. There are more resources here than other communities, but I think sometimes they do get overwhelmed. But I will follow up with them as well too. And if you have something specific, we can talk offline and make sure.
Make sure it's getting implemented quickly.
Sure.
Commissioner Steen?
Yeah, Kate, one of the strategies in health care delivery or human service delivery is kind of a no wrong door policy. Are you finding that collaborators that are in your network are referring to one another? If a person enters by one door, they're referred by one of your partners to another door? Or do they have to go back to the top of PMCN to go back down?
In a perfect world, they never knew they were touched by the Peak Military Care Network. That's ideally how it works. And in most cases it does. It's very hard to do outreach, though, because they don't know that they were touched. But yes, that happens a lot. And if it's something where they can't, it's not a right fit for one of the other partners, they'll definitely kick it back, and we'll send a broad announcement out to beyond partner agents. Well,
did you find there's some efficiencies at the partner level? So if someone says, I do it, but I don't do it well. So they stop doing what they don't do well and let someone else do who does an excellent job with that.
From a system-wide standpoint, yes, that's what we like to see, and that happens. And we've seen that happen on some behavioral health providers who said, you know what, your more expertise is in, adolescent such and such.
There's so many
versus this.
internal
So-
efficiencies that are getting perfect. The
Some
last
is
question is
happening.
long-term funding. What's your outlook?
I can't tell you officially. We will be looking at, we did, again, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation was a 2-year grant. We've had funding and support from organizations like the Anschutz Foundation, which continues to support us, and El Pomar. Without giving details, we're looking at a 3-year grant that will help us. Most of what we do is grant funded. We do have some support from other communities, local communities. We want to build more local government support as well, and some partner contributions. But things are looking better than they have for a while, for the next 3 years, I would say. And when I have that press release to send out to you guys, I certainly will.
Thanks for
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm
sorry.
One of the biggest problems we consistently face is identification and certification of populations. And I was shocked. I went through a number of the folks downtown and talked to them. I was shocked by how few veterans were in that particular group. So as we reach back and forth between these particular environments, again, it's I don't think that gentleman Planned Parenthood had anything to do with the military, as far as I was aware.
I was told he was an ex-military. The guy, Sam Adams, for sure was.
Well, that's why it's identification and then certification, so that we can get the right people to the right place, to get them the right services.
Well, we just want to make sure let's get all the military out of that group at least, and get them some sort of service and some sort of help.
And there are strong efforts to address that, and the city's been involved in that too. But I'm not so familiar with the rural communities, and I'm sorry about that. But I will find out and get back to you.
These guys get out there and they get in a camper and they start thinking about things, and pretty soon it gets so bad that when you don't have anything to lose,
And we want to get to them
there's the
before
way
they're in
out that
crisis.
they're looking for.
So.
I'm afraid, and that can be. I know for Sam Adams that was the way it was. I don't think he wanted to spend another winter in Park County in that trailer, in that camper that he was in, and he was a veteran. And if we could somehow keep these tragedies from happening, that's these are life and death situations. It's not just bad living situation. It's gotten to the point where they're so desperate that they have to have something.
Our goal is to get to them before they're in crisis. I don't know that we'll ever get to everybody, but over the next year, as we kind of better resource things, come up with that outreach plan and make sure that people know their resource before they get out. When they first move here, they're going to stay here. Do we have the whole issue of Colorado Wants You is one of what the Anschutz Foundation is involved in, to really make sure that folks are welcomed here and have the resources they need before they're in crisis. So I'll follow up with you directly on some of the stuff.
Thank you.
Councilwoman, did you have a...
Can I ask if and how the network partners with our local Mount Carmel?
Mount Carmel is one of our partner agencies, and I would tell you that Mount Carmel has taken the PMCN model to put in their building. So Bob is on our advisory board. I'm on his advisory committee. We co-chair the MyVA Community Pikes Peak Community Engagement Board. So they're a partner agency. We work with them directly. They're still building. They're still figuring out what's going to be in their facility. They have some transition support, and Workforce Center is there once a week. So they're not quite finished with building, but we work directly with them on a regular basis.
Great, thanks.
Trustee?
Do you have any stats on suicide, either active or veterans? And are we making any progress on that? And I'm talking specifically in the Pikes Peak region.
The Suicide Prevention Partnership did do a presentation. They finally got a good set of data, about 15 years worth of data that was through 2014. And in the past year, the veteran suicide rate in El Paso County is down. And there have been spikes in other times, so they're kind of analyzing the data, what things are differently. I think that some of the work that a lot of folks have been doing in this community have helped that. We'll see if that's a trend. We hope that's a trend. And so there is some good information out there. We hope to be able to continue, but we need to look at trends.
It looks like that would be very hard to digest, given deployments and people coming home and things like this, that would make it tough to really make sense of.
That's why they want to look at what happened, what's different, what is this in there, where are the spikes, where the drops over the years, and what is there some trigger point or something that we can take a look at. But there's a lot more proactive stuff, and Fort Carson in particular does pre-deployment and post-deployment affairs, and I know that the other installations are very much engaged in making sure that those families are supported during deployment and post-deployment as well, too. So, and the deployment cycles, they've ratcheted up, actually, with Fort Carson, but the deployment cycles have changed a lot over time. But that's a good point, because the wars they're still fighting the fight in a lot of ways, and there's still a lot of families that have said, there are kids now in junior high and high school that have known nothing but a parent going off to war on a regular basis. So there are a lot of challenges that we still need to address and look at what those numbers are and figure out, what we're doing right and what we need to do better.
So, Kay, you've got your phone, our phone number, and a ppacg.org email address listed on here. Is there another way for folks to contact you?
Well, that's the...
Oh, I'm sorry. I got the wrong one.
Absolutely, yes.
What I wanted to do was invite folks that have any additional questions to contact you offline.
I'll leave a stack of cards as well, too, and I'll put contact information for you.
I have her contact information.
You know where to find me.
Okay, thanks so much for the presentation, for your continued interaction with the different bases, including the Academy. Over the last 3 months or so, we, as installation, have been approached by 2 different additional entities. And first of all, when you look at all the support that's out there, that's part of the beauty of what we talked before. The community loves to support its veterans. Sometimes there's so many disparate ways to help. So things like your organization are helpful. The 2 things that we've been approached with in the last several months are the VA, having a similar program where they're starting to talk about transition, and they have a POC. And the second is the USO
RP6. Yeah.
That was RP6. It was just open. Can you talk briefly about your relationship with those entities? Because we want to make sure, as installations, we can continue to go to the, direct our folks to the right. And this is, oh, by the way, after our Airmen and Family Readiness Center spend considerable time, as well as the commanders and leaders, to make sure that we prepare our airmen as appropriate to transition effectively. And sometimes, unfortunately, they're not ready to take that. Other times, there's challenges that progress after they've come out of the service for a number of years. So there's a continuity of care. I'm interested in your insights on that part.
We are working, I think USO will come, RP6 will come on as a partner agency. We're very familiar with them, but you're right, and that's what I was alluding to, is that everybody wants to be in the transition space. There's a little bit of tripping over each other, and I'm sure the military installations are confused. Our January partner agency meeting is focused specifically on that, to make sure that the community understands what the military transition programs are, what you guys do and don't do, and where that care ends, that continuity care piece, and how the community can align and support. What is USO RP6 doing? What is Mount Carmel doing? What is the VA doing? And what are the? I'd love to talk to who your contact person is. I'll follow up to you afterwards with the VA. We work directly with the VA on a lot of different issues as well, too, so that we make sure that we are herding the cats, if you will. Because the last thing we don't want the military installations to be confused. We don't want those who need the services to be confused. Well, who am I supposed to go to see? So that's the role that PMCN can help provide and do that. So thank you for that feedback.
Thank you.
Tell them real fast. Is there an ID, when I talk about certification process, is there a military ID transition card of any kind that would help identify these folks as they go back and forth? Just put that on a thought process, because we've been talking with the homeless about how to make sure that we don't have multiple agencies doing the same thing and different things, duplication of effort, and part of that was a method. Since you guys have the ID card thing down pat, I was wondering if there was an opportunity here that we could, as these guys leave, give them a transition card, different color, different whatever, that could be indefinite, that could help track that they are certified as part of a structured continuity of care.
So,
just as a thought.
and one of the things we want to make sure is get good information coming out of the administrations, who's here, who's staying, that warm handoff. But yeah, you get information, and data is good information, not personally identifiable, but knowing that those who choose to opt into getting services, and ideally we have a system set up, but we need to be able to get buy-in for those organizations to want to be able to know who's working with whom. And I say on an informal level, for a lot of cases they are.
Well, thank you, Kate.
Sure. Sorry for it was.
No, it's really informative and very important. But we do have some other folks that need to come up and, and get on. But
thank you.
And something will go out to the entire board of how to contact.
Absolutely. And I'll stick around for a little while.
Great.
Thank you.
Iraqi veteran. shooter.
Well,
the Colorado Springs shooter was an Iraqi veteran.
In order to keep us moving along, I'm going to go ahead and call item 8B, which is the impact briefing on D.C. trip and federal legislation. And I see Stephanie Finley working her way up. You know, and we don't charge for these free civic lessons on how your local governments work collaboratively. So you're welcome to attend anytime you would like.
Thank you.
And
Thank
learn all
you.
you can about effective local governance.
Thank you. I have a lifetime of this knowledge, actually, throughout my career, but thank you. This is, truthfully, in all sincerity, you all serve a very important role in the community. So I fully appreciate and I'm very patient for that.
Well, thank you for
So,
your patience.
thank you. My name is Stephanie Finley, and I actually work for UCCS, but in today's capacity, I've been asked by the leadership of PPACG to come give a brief update on IMPACT, which is a federal coalition in this region of 13 entities, and in rare vintage form for this community, which is perfect. It's a hybrid. It's a little bit of government. It's a little bit of private business. It's a little bit of education institutions. It's a bit of associations, which is perfect for what we need from this community. For those of you who haven't been here the last 3 times I've been here, we are a coalition that has hired a lobbyist in Washington, D.C., one of the premier lobbying firms in D.C. to look out for our priorities and to help us with challenges and such. And they've done a great job, and I want to say thank you to all of you because you are part of that. And I want to say especially thank you to Dennis Heisey and to Tyler Stevens for your leadership on the coalition and always being present to what we're trying to achieve. So I do want to be brief because I know you're all trying to get out of here. You probably have lunch engagements and such. And so if you'd like to know who the 13 entities are who are part of it, I'd be glad to answer that question if it arises. And also if you have other questions, I'll answer those. But I'm going to be really brief and say what it is we do. First of all, the lobbying firm has been a resource for us. Any issue that comes up on the federal level, they are amazing. We can call them for anything, and they are immediately in touch with our delegation and get information back to us or give our delegation information. They are in constant contact with our congressional delegation, which helps. It means we're great. We have great intentions, but we don't always have the ability to do that. They do. So we just call them, and they work with our delegation in D.C. And then they help us with an annual trip to D.C., and all of our priority issues are what they deal with. When we travel to D.C., they set up the whole trip for us leading into it, along with the Business Alliance. It's actually the Business Alliance's trip, but the coalition has become more and more integrated in that, which is helpful. So let me just tell you very quickly what the priority issues have been and what they will be. Air service has been an important part of how we've connected with our delegation. The defense and military space, of course, is important. Transportation has been key to the coalition, and Commissioner Heisey, Trustee Stevens, have been the lead on that for us, and we thank you for that. Hannah Parsons is here with me today from the Business Alliance. She has become the point person on transportation for the coalition, so she's happy to answer any questions you all might have about that as well. And then cyber. We have something pretty incredible going on right now in the cyber arena, and it is big. It is really big, much bigger than I expected it to be. And so I'm certain that that alone would be a great presentation for you sometime. I know it's not what you all necessarily deal with, but it is coming together in a way that's going to be very pivotal for this community. And we have a lot of partners on that. And so anybody who's interested in that, just contact me, and I will be happy to. We have our state legislature involved. The governor is very involved in it. The county, the city, a lot of people have become very involved in cyber innovation, and then healthcare. And I was interested in Kate's presentation because the coalition has taken on veterans as a priority. and veterans health care. And I know that Hannah had a phone conversation this morning with our lobbyist about that and some of the things that we're doing on the issue. So, Kate, we probably ought to connect with you as well on that. And then the aging population. I know you do care about that, and that is a priority that the coalition has taken on. And that phone call this morning was about aging as well. Okay, I'm finished. May I answer any questions?
Thank you for coming in and giving us, and for your patience again.
Oh, my
sticking
pleasure.
with us here through this long meeting.
No problem. My pleasure in doing it.
And so I'm glad to see you're up to 13 entities. I think we started with 10.
We did, and then it dropped to 9, and now it's back to 13. And in fact, we have people coming to us now asking if they can be involved. So it's fascinating.
Well, as one of the initial skeptics, I've been converted.
Oh, yay. Thank you. Thank you.
You guys are doing great work. And,
Thank you.
It's really important that we have a voice on some of these really important issues to us. And you've got me very intrigued about this whole cyber thing.
I know. Let's talk.
We'll have to get the skinny on that.
Okay. We'd be
Anybody have
delighted
any
to.
questions for me? Please, Tyler. Comments?
Yeah, I just want to emphasize the importance that this coalition has done for our region and our role as PPACG in it. It's vital, and one of the things that I'm hearing very loudly from Impact is how can Impact help PPACG and forward transportation issues and other issues that we care about federally, and how can we advance the regional interests. So it is really important for us as PPACG to be involved and also to communicate back to Impact what we want to see done. And so as we see these priorities, and we know that there's overlapping membership and such, but it is important for this board to be clear that we have a voice in this group, and that we are able to really affect change and in tremendous ways. And one of the other things that's happened is the participation in the Washington, D.C. trips and Impact's involvement in the various meetings and things. It's been pivotal to understanding what the climate is there and how we can actually benefit our region through those activities there.
So thank you again for being a part of something that has become very, very effective.
Councilwoman?
Just tacking on to what Tyler mentioned, I think when we're talking about strategic planning here in PPACG, this is one of the reasons why that's so important, is we're looking really long-term in transportation projects. It's not just about widening I-25. It's about really thinking big so that we can strategically work with all these other groups to get the best funding and best projects for our region.
And I forgot to mention, Elise Pickering, our federal lobbyist, will be here in January for a planning session for the coalition. It'd be perfect to know what's on your minds and what you feel is critical. And we're good about that. Dennis and Tyler certainly help us with that all along the way. They represent you well, I promise. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. So I see Rachel working her way up to the podium here with a Colorado legislative session preview.
I think she's been bumped twice.
Yeah, I know.
Good morning.
I couldn't do it again, but it was tempting.
Is it still morning?
It is.
Work fast.
I'll work fast. Rachel Beck, Policy and Communication Manager. In your last two packets, there was an update on interim committees. As you know, the state legislature, even while it's not in session, is still considering issues, crafting bills, and there are a number of interests to our PPACG programs and to your jurisdictions. I believe there were links to the bill text that we have, or a summary if we didn't have the text, and as well as the full text in your packets. So I don't need to go over that again. If you would like to move on, I'm assuming, of course, you all read your packets from cover to cover.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any questions on those then? Comments?
No. When do they start? First Tuesday in January?
Yes, sir.
11th of January. Second Monday, okay.
You should have also received an invitation to our legislative reception. That will be for all of you in El Paso, Park, and Teller counties, and our representatives to the state, as well as some key staff members and community members. That will be here at PPACG, 3 o'clock on the 17th. If anyone did not receive that invitation, please let me know, and I will resend it. I would really appreciate help from all of you in
extending that invitation to the legislators that you have relationships with. I imagine they'll respond much better to your personal invitations than to mine.
Perhaps.
Not our pastries? We got good
Yes.
food.
That's right.
So anybody have any questions for Rachel on the upcoming, what's been going on with the legislature during their out of session and what's coming up?
What about the caregivers loophole in the marijuana situation? Is there any thoughts of closing some of those loopholes? Or?
That is one that I have been tracking, but I can certainly look into it.
We seem to have a lot of upset citizens that feel that there's excessive marijuana growing around them in residences rather than the commercial businesses, and they're doing it in their homes, and it's upsetting people. And I just was curious if maybe some of those, the caregiver, the governor's got it to where they can grow 100 plants in their house, and it just seems to us to be an excessive amount in a residential area. Without any oversight, the dispensaries and the commercial grows have oversight, and these caregivers are kind of doing what they want. So.
I've found the legislature to be completely feckless when it comes to regulating marijuana in the state of Colorado. It seems to me most of the efforts that are happening on the local level, and I would encourage you to reach out to your peer commissioners in El Paso County. I believe they've taken some action lately in that regard, and I'm not sure about the city of Colorado Springs, but working on it also. So I wouldn't put too much hope in the legislature. They can't seem to run fast enough from marijuana issues, in my opinion.
I will look into that and report back to you next month.
Thank you.
Website?
Did you want me to talk about the website quickly? All right.
Yep. We're going to blast it up?
Yes.
Probably be working in the background to put the positions on.
I am very pleased to report to you that after a few months of some pretty significant technical difficulties, which I apologize for, we have transitioned to our new site. Erica Hunter, our webmaster, who's in the audience, has been working really hard, and I think she's done a fabulous job. This is not all the way up at the moment. So this looks not too different from the structure of our old site, because what we heard in our user surveys was that people generally liked the way that was organized. A few caveats for you, though. Because of the time crunch that was imposed upon us by hackers, we have started with kind of a skeleton here, and so we identified the most essential content. That is what you will find on the site right now. But in the next month or so, we're going to be filling in the less popular, less used, but still important information. We're still tinkering with it. We want to continue to make improvements as we go along, so appreciate your feedback as you use it. Or items that we missed, like Councilor Gabler, thank you for pointing out that we don't have those job postings up there. In addition, this will affect any bookmarks that you may have, so you'll just need to point them to the new site. But again, appreciate your feedback as we continue to improve this, and I think you'll see it's going to be a lot faster for you and a lot easier to find what you need.
And secure.
Yes.
Tyler?
Will you have, like if someone is searching, and I understand it's not populated yet, but how far back will your archives go for searches?
We are looking at posting 2 years of past documents right now, at least for things like meeting minutes and things like that. Reports that people are still referring to that are older than 2 years, of course, will be an exception to that. But we looked at places like the City of Colorado Springs recently redid its website. That's how far back they're going with their documentation. So we thought we'd take our cue from them, start with that, and then if we're getting a lot of requests for information that's older, we'll go ahead and add to it if we need to.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
A couple more items to get through here. We have the stack agenda.
Real quick, condense a 2.5-hour meeting into just a few minutes here. A few updates from the Transportation Commission. The peak period shoulder lanes opens on 12/12/15. That's just next week. That opens up. It's a toll payload lanes between Empire, Colorado, and the Twin Tunnels. So if you're traveling that lane back on a ski trip, watch for adjustable tolls on that lane section in the shoulder only, not the primary lanes. Those are not tolled. Number two is the Transportation Commission is going to look at ways to better track foot traffic and bicycle traffic. We get vehicle counts, but it's tough to get people counts. So that's a new initiative from the Transportation Commission. We did get an update from the CDOT Legislative Federal, Ron Papsdorf, on the new FAST legislation. This is this federal funding of roads nationwide. I did provide a two-page summary to Craig and others. I know that Craig's already doing his own deep dive into the effects of FAST legislation on our region. One important thing is that HTF, Highway Trust Fund, thank you, acronyms here, we expect it to grow in Colorado from $516 million to $592 million over the next 5 years. So we do expect long-term funding of transit dollars. CDOT's looking at something called a development phase. Right now we do a statewide transportation improvement program, STEP, 6-year roll. We're going to add 4 years to the front of that, which called a development phase of programs that are not funded but need to be in the queue. So we're going to look at what programs need to get into that development phase of our long-range plan. And a lot of discussion there as to how they'd be scored and what goes in the list and how we compete with other regions. So kind of a major planning process upgrade for CDOT, and we'll be commenting on that at our January STAC meeting on January 29th. And then finally, we have a proposed CDOT budget for 2017. This is a state fiscal year beginning on 1st of July, 2016. That's a $1.4 billion CDOT budget. Notably, it does cut back on a couple programs. An important one for us is called RPP, the Regional Priority Program budget. That went from $10 million to $50 million, and now is back down from $50 down to $38 million, about a 25%, almost 25% cut in RPP dollars to the region. So significant. We're kind of working through that and how we might line up for what piece of that $38 million statewide comes. One of the biggest reasons why it's cut back is because Senate Bill 09228. We expected $1 billion to come through that, through the growth of the Colorado economy. Tabor's going to cut that back from $1 billion to about $106 million. So about almost a 90% cut. Yeah, all right? Yeah. 90% cut in 228 monies. So adjustments is rippling through the entire budget. And so that budget has been approved by the Transportation Commissioner, will go to the governor, be approved for legislative action, of course, in about February time frame. So that's it. The next STAC meeting is on, again, January 29th at 9 a.m. at CDOT. And if you've got any things you'd like me to carry up there, please let me know. Mark?
And just, with the $1.4 billion budget, what is the cost of the single bridge in Denver?
Well, it's not fully funded in a single year, but it's more than a full year's budget. About $1.6 billion funding for a single project. I-70 East, it's the overpass. It's a partial cover and lower project. Replacing a bridge that's probably overdue long past its lifespan, but that's correct. It's going to take up lots of bridge enterprise money and other projects. So they did make it clear, this is a bridge, not a highway. Rob?
Yeah, just to add on, your next board workshop, we're going to talk about the CDOT budget, try to bring CDOT folks down in and tie together your long-range plan, the 6-year TIP, and the 1-year CDOT budget. All those categories seem to be about the same, so we thought we'd talk about it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Norm.
Welcome.
Thanks for all the great work you can do up there.
Thank you.
And we'll get to in just a moment, to setting the representatives for next year. Any questions, comments? And item E is presenting candidates for the 2016 PPACG board officers. I know there's been some emails and some electronic meeting, I believe, but I'm not up to date on where the nominating committee is.
4 of the 5 members are here. I don't know if they selected a spokesperson.
We did.
Oh,
That would be me.
congratulations.
How about that? 4 of the 5 are here. 3 of us participated in a telephone conversation with Rachel and Rob sometime last week and made the following recommendations. Or maybe Rachel has a list of those so I don't get them wrong.
I have it as well.
I do.
You do? So correct me if I'm wrong. Andy for chair, Norm for first vice chair, Jill for second vice chair, and Dennis and Tyler in their existing positions. We had 6 for 5 spots and thought that the 5 that we chose just participated more, had more experience, and we still like the idea of Rafa being part of the STAT committee.
Great.
And so that's what we came up with. I know we're not voting today, but if anyone has any questions.
Well, no, but I really appreciate the 5 of you volunteering to be on the nominating committee and doing this yeoman work for us and making it what I think is a very excellent recommendation for a slate of officers. And so, Rob, we received that? Is that all we do here today?
That's all today. The vote is at the annual meeting on January 13th.
Great. Thank you. And then, since you mentioned the STAC representation, I will say that I did reach out to Mayor Dominguez from Monument, who is currently our first alternate to Commissioner Steen. I did not hear back from him in the last week or so since I reached out to him, so I don't know where he stands. Specifically, I wanted to ask him now that the BERTA money had been paid back if he was still interested in serving as first alternate on the staff, but I was not able to communicate with him on that, so afraid I don't have any information to shed there, but
And again, it's more receipt of the existing representation for the stack. Again, you'll vote on it in January.
Okay.
And you can jockey the positions, add, delete, multiply, however you want to go.
Well, we don't usually have fourth alternates for positions, so I think we're making a statement how important the stack representation is to us. By hook or by crook, we're going to have somebody at that meeting.
At least one or two.
Great. Thank you. Let's see then, any member entity announcements? Anybody wishing to make? No. Next meeting is?
13th of January.
With no further business, we are adjourned. Thank you for your patience. Hour and a half late start. Really, the meeting itself went.
You're going to be in the running
for bike riding.
Try to do that next time.
Right.
I've already apologized to Dennis for every time I gave him a gentle brief about long meetings. I learned my lesson.